Welcome to the Parsha Perspective. Each week, we will delve deep in a weekly Torah portion to find a practical and insightful way to enhance your daily life. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shalom Yemini. Each week, we will look into the weekly Torah portion to find inspiration that will complement your daily life and intensify your connection to God. This week's Parsha Perspective is dedicated in honor of 70 years of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's leadership. This week's Torah portion is Parshas Bo. Our Parsha begins with Moshe and Aaron warning Pharaoh about Moshe and Aaron, the plague of locusts. After Moshe and Aaron left, Pharaoh's ministers begged him to set the Jewish nation free. They argued that the Egyptian people were suffering needless amounts of pain. So Pharaoh called back Moshe and Aaron and told them that he will allow them to serve in the desert. However, they must leave their children behind as collateral. Moshe and Aaron obviously refused his offer, and Pharaoh stubbornly refused to allow the Jewish nation to go with no prior conditions. When the last two plagues, Makas Arbe and Makas Choshech, the plague of locusts and the plague of darkness, concluded, Pharaoh called back Moshe and offered him this deal. He would let the Jewish nation free. However, they would have to leave their animals behind. When Moshe rejected his offer, Pharaoh sent him away with a warning never to appear in his presence again. As the pasuk says, "You shall no longer see my face, for the day you will see my face, you shall die." So Hashem struck Egypt with the last plague, Makas Bachoris, the death of all firstborns. It started at midnight, and as the death toll started to rise, Pharaoh, who was himself a firstborn, ran to Moshe and told him to lead the Jewish people out of Egypt immediately. The Jewish nation began to gather their belongings and the rest of the Egyptians' valuables and left Egypt midday on the 15th of Nisan. Hashem then gave the Jewish people several mitzvahs, including eating matzah on Pesach, recounting this story by the Seder table, the mitzvah of tefillin, and the sacrificing of all firstborn kosher animals. However, a question comes to mind. The mitzvah of recounting the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt, to your children, is repeated 3 separate times. Why does the Torah emphasize this specific mitzvah on 3 separate occasions? One of the many answers that is given is that Moshe reiterated this specific mitzvah 3 separate times to teach the Jewish nation the value of education. And since Moshe was a true leader, he not only focused on the education of his generation, but rather on the education of the Jewish people for all of time. Moshe knew that the differentiating factor between the Jewish people and the rest of the world would be their constant pursuit of education, as we are known for being the people of the book. Similarly, we see by Yaakov Avinu, when he heard that his beloved son Yosef was still alive, he first sent his son Yehuda down to Egypt to create a school wherein his family could study the Torah. Furthermore, Moshe understood that the way the Jewish nation would retain their faith during difficult times would be their belief in Hashem. And that conviction is built by studying how Hashem freed us from slavery and chose us to be His people from amongst the rest of the nations of the world. And this is the very reason why we mention Yetzias Mitzrayim, the exodus of Egypt, every single day. From the Shema on the 6 daily remembrances to Kiddush on Friday night, we remind ourselves of God's love and compassion for the Jewish people, and hopefully inspire us to yearn and long for His revelation in this physical world. In our daily life, it is imperative that we understand that we must seek continual advancement in our education. For even the most successful people in the world study and learn constantly. Whether they go to a class or read a book, they strive for consistent growth. Because continued learning opens the mind and allows us to adapt and overcome any obstacles in our path towards success and prosperity. There's a great quote that I once heard. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. Have a great weekend and good Shabbos. Thank you for tuning in to the Parsha Perspective. Check out our website, theparshaperspective.com. Send thoughts and comments to theparshaperspective@gmail.com Till next time, thanks for listening.